Eswatini Lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive, and swag. Eswatini Lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places, and trends in the kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini Lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini Lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
Kusile, Babugale, thank you for joining us today. Good morning and welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. You can also watch the show on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Good morning and welcome. Good. How are you? It's a Friday. Yes, finally.
In my head, it's a Wednesday or Thursday. Indeed, it is a very good morning to you. You may be esiselweni elibonjeni kahoho noma kamanzini siyakuvusela lomhla ekseni. Welcome to your favorite breakfast show. Nalabo ke labasibukela ngaphandle kwalapha eveni siyabemukela ehlelweni basibukela kubo YouTube. Indeed, it is a reminder that if you can't watch the program on your TV screen through satellite or aerial, ungasithola ka YouTube and stream this episode noma ngabe ke lo hlelo soluphelile. Singena kuyo imphela sonto singena netibusiso. Thankful to the God Almighty for yet another gift of life nalomhla ekseni. Lungelele sipaphathelele lomhla.
Lamhla sidaba nje sibuka tindzaba letinye ndana. We will have Velile Dube lo suka khona enhlanganweni i-Show Your Talent kuleli viki ke basukumisa umncintiswano lapho service amaswati sawukhona kungenela imincintiswano bakhangisa nje ngamakhono labanawo. Tawuthi ke ngekuhamba kwesikhathi babe sebayokhangisa lawo makhono lawo eveni lase-America next month. We will have Velile Dube, who's the director of the competition Show Your Talent Eswatini. Sidabe sikhulumisana naye nje kuva ngama-opportunities lavulelwe sive semaswatini kuva nje ukuthi ngabe ama-categories ale mncintiswano athini ngoba sivile ukuthi kutabe kunalabo labanelikhono leku-actor, labanelikhono lekuhlabela, ikhono lekujayiva nalamanye amakhono. Sidabe sikhulumisana naye kuva kabanti nje ngale mncintiswano kanye nama-prizes latawina ngiwo emaswati emva kwalo mncintiswano. Sidabe sikhulumisana naye namhla ekseni at 7:30.
We are also getting in touch with our senior journalist, LinkedIn Gule, who is in Russia, St. Petersburg, for the second Russia-Africa Summit, where Deputy Prime Minister Impunga Themba Nhlanganiso Masuku is representing His Majesty King Mswati III kuleyo summit leyo. Sibonile ke esukwini la itolo LinkedIn asibikela ukuthi nangemambala eRussia Africa Summit seyivuliwe ngalokusemthethweni lonyaka lapho khona ngunankulu welive lakhona eRussia Vladimir Putin upledgile ukuthi emava Africa utawasekela, even though just a few African countries showed up this time around compared to last year's summit. LinkedIn highlighted that only about 17 countries are there. He will give us a more comprehensive report. Usitshelile nje nyalo ekseni uma singena la hlelweni kuthi lungisela kuphuma njengoba ke basembili ngele hour linye umhlangano ke so vele usemalungiselweni ekucala la kithi nje kutawuthi nathi 6:30 kibokutabe ukuthi 7:30 11 kulungiselwa ke kuqala kwawo umhlangano. Nonetheless, he is compiling a very long and comprehensive report that asichazela kabanti ngalo mhlangano nangema proceeds and what will go on today kulo mhlangano. So kolelo muhle ungayenza, it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, at this moment, so let's take a look at newspaper headlines. Yeah, saqala sibuke i-Times of Eswatini siwahloko lithamba embili lomhla ekseni kanti ngenzaba lihamba embili ephephandzabeni i-Times. 40 million emalangeni somhlolo road free gym unveiled. Minister of Housing itolo uvule ngalokusemthethweni umgwaqo isomhlolo road. Kuletinye lithamba embili Anglican Church dispute. Bishop hits back as lawyers roped in. Refuses to withdraw letter transferring Reverend Nhlanhla Dlamini as per lawyer's demand. Find that story on page 2. Kuletinye thamba embili Mbongwa gets his salary. Mkhululi to EPC, allow me to exercise my right. Kanti kuletinye thamba embili Judge Kusile elected into international jurist exec.
Letihamba embili kutemdlalo Times of Eswatini. The biggest headline is, despite Sihlangu's unconvincing show, it is over 300,000 emalangeni allowances for players. Now this means that each player is expected to take home nothing less than 15,000 emalangeni following the Hollywood Bet Kosafa Cup 2023 that was staged in Durban. These players will reportedly be paid their allowances soon, but tawbe bamoyitela bayakhona emabhange. Lenyeke lihamba embili ithi Mbabane Swallows win race to sign Siphamandla. Lenyele gijima embili Momo Cup voting over 1 million votes each for Big 3. Kanti kule qhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli lekuma headlines, it's Nigeria shock Australia in 3-2 thriller.
Kulethamba embili Eswatini Observer. Eswatini Mobile yesterday celebrated their 6th anniversary. Bakhona ke nabaphathi labakhulu kanye nama-shareholders ayo lenkapani. Kuletinye thamba embili drugs shortage story on pages 2 and 3. Expect drugs next month ngekusho kwa-PS. Residents ke ase Pigspeak Government Hotel they are to petition. Public uproar over drugs shortage and they demand action. Kuletinye thamba embili traditional healers warn of bogus dinyanga. 20 mobile money scammers arrested. That story you'll find on page 6, as well as the Luchu experience awaits on page 29.
Interesting headlines there, Lulu. Traditional healers warn of bogus dinyanga. Yeah, anyway, 10 million votes in 2 weeks. That is local teams seem to be going all out in the Momo Cup voting exercise as they have reached a milestone of 10 million votes in a space of 2 weeks. Black Swallows hit 2 million mark, and a couple of other teams that have hit the 1 million mark, which include Lozita Spurs, Manzini Wanderers, Manzini Highlanders, Mbabane Swallows, Singizini Hotspurs just behind with 700,000 and a couple of other votes. And then Singizini unveiled 5 new signings. This means that Shiselweni-based side and Momo Cup defending champions Singizini Hotspurs have made their intentions clear for the upcoming 2023 season by unveiling 5 new players. It looks like those are the 2 leading headlines, with one that's coming from outside of Eswatini. Mbappe refuses to talk to Al Hilal for the over 300 million pounds move. Interesting.
Yeah, ngiyathola thamba embili mbukile emhlakseni emaphephandzabeni ethu omabili. It's 7 minutes after 6. Asibahlole timakethe sitawubuya netindzaba tesiswati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letentiya ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide emagama lacosheme letitsembekile letitsintsa tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo, netemhlaba wonke jikelele. Siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhathi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulo msakato siphinde sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakato wetitfombe i-Eswatini TV.
Asiphinze sinimukele sitawubuka nathi tindzaba teSiswati. Silo semhlaba ingwenyama inkosi Mswati wesithafu sesicele emave lanjingile kanye netinhlangano takamhlaba kutsi abambise emave lasathuthuka ngetimali tekwasekela tinhlelo tekukhiqida kudla. Inkulumo yengwenyama yetfule liphina ndvunankhulu Themba Masuku nakuvala ngokusemtsetfweni umhlangano wenhlangano yakamhlaba yetekudla i-Food and Agricultural Organization inhlokodolobha yelive leRome e-Italy.
Lo mhlangano wenhlangano yakamhlaba lebukwenza batekudla emhlabeni i-Food and Agricultural Organization FAO lobanjelwe enhlokodolobha yelive leTaliyane Rome uphethe ngekuthi kutekwe tindzaba tekutsi timali tekwesekela tinhlelo tekukhiqida kudla tingatfolakala njani. Kulo mhlangano liphini landvunankulu impunga Themba Masuku limelele ingwenyama inkosi Mswati wesithathu. Sekethula inkulumo yemakhosi Masuku uchazile ukuthi umhlaba ubhekene nenseya lenkulu iguquguquka kwesimo selitulu lesekuguqule indlela lekulinywa ngayo kanye naletinye tinseya letifaka ekhatsi kugedvuka kwemhlaba nesomiso kulokunye. Masuku uthi tinhlelo tekulima lanato emave lasathuthuka ngeke titsele titselo letingito uma ngatfoli kwesekeleka ngetimali emaveni lasathuthukile kanye nasetinhlanganweni takamhlaba lokufaka ekhatsi libhange lakamhlaba i-World Bank nelibhange lekuthuthukisa e-Afrika i-African Development Bank kuletinye.
We are aware that today's systems are facing multiple crises. They are responsible for a large share of greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity loss, water pollution, and soil degradation. They fall short in providing adequate nutrition and livelihoods for billions of people around the world.
Liphini landvunankulu lithi uhulumende waseSwatini utawuchubeka nekukhulumisana netinhlangosi letitsindzekako etindzabeni tekulima kute kutfolakale likhambi lelikhonsako lekuthi tekulima tingasimamiswa njani kulelive. Masuku igcizelele kabanti indzaba yekutsi emave akabambisane uma afuna kulwa nekuguquguquka kwesimo selitulu ukuthi isikhathi sekutsi kwendiwe taba letibonakalako ngunyalo hhayi kusasa ngoba umhlaba uyabhubha.
The Kingdom of Eswatini started by organizing the food systems dialogues for a number of stakeholders, ranging from government institutions, private sector players, civil society, and from organizations. The outcome of these engagements, which are our food systems pathways, are owned and led not only by government, but all the various players that are expected to implement the same. Going forward, it is necessary to have regular platforms to inform policy and regulatory changes that will sustain the implementation of our food system. I just want to end by saying we have one dying planet. We have an increasing population. We need to act, not tomorrow.
Masukunele kucedza inkulumo yengwenyama wabese ubamba umhlangano wangasense nemphathi we-FAO Dr. Q Dong-yu. Kanti-ke nasihogela sitfolile ukuthi labaholi lababili bateke tindzaba letifaka ekhatsi kuti FAO abambise laseSwatini ekuhlanyeleni timali esikhwameni sekulima i-Agriculture Development Fund kute kutawusitakala abalimi labaningi kanye-ke nekuthi kube nemaswati leta inhloko-ofisi yalenhlangano kutawufunza ngako ukuthuthukisa tekulima. Masuku bese-ke uyasuka eRome walibhekisa edolobheni leSt Petersburg evele leRussia kuyangenela umhlangano wesibili lekuthiwa iRussia Africa Summit. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV ngiLington Gule ngiseRussia.
Imvuna yamabhizinisi manxeba khumalo ikhuthaza onke amaswati ukuthi abe ingcenye yetinhlangano telibambiswano kutelive leSwatini litobane nentfutfuko lesimeme. Imvuna yokusho lokho emcimbini wekugubha lusuku lwetinhlangano telibanjiswano lobanjelwe eMavuso Sports Center kaManzini. Lolu suku ligujwa ngaphansi kwesicubulo lesithi tinhlangano telibambiswano tisebenzisana ekuphuthumiseni intfutfuko lesimeme.
Hulumende sewende umsebenzi lobantu lofaka ekhatsi kushaya imithetho nemigomo ekuqinisekiseni ukuthi tinhlangano telibambiswano tisebenta ngendlela letothuthukisa eMaswati. Indvuna yetemabhizinisi ithi le mithetho leshayiwe nguleyo lefunwa sive.
Kuyasijabulisa kakhulu uma siva siphindze sibona ukuthi live linema cooperatives lengcako ku 1200 etinhlobo letehlukene. Kwethu ke singihulumende silitiko laka commerce kukhuthaza onke eMaswati ukuthi bana limember le cooperative tsite. Sicetsa ke bekunene kuphasisa umthetho eParliamente wema cooperatives lebese unjinja ngekulalela nine ma cooperators ukuthi lo mthetho ungaba ngcono uma unganisebentela kanjani.
Sihlelo wenhlangano leyengamele tinhlangano telibambiswano iNational Cooperatives Federation of Eswatini Sifiso Mhlongo uthi tonke tinhlangano telibambiswano kufanele tibhalise tatiwe ngalokusemthethweni.
Singakhuthaza tinhlangano telibanjiswano uthi nangabe inhlangano yakho iye kulima siyayikhuthaza ukuthi ayihambe iyojoyina kwa-esamco. Nangabe kuyinhlangano yebantu labasha siyayikhuthaza ukuthi ayihambe iyojoyina ku-esnika. Nangabe kuye konga nekuboleka siyakhuthaza ukuthi ayihambe iyojoyina ku-esasco.
Tinhlangano telibambiswano kuleli tinempahla lelinganiselwa ku 2.5 billion emalangeni kanti imali letiyibolekisile ilinganiselwa ku 1.3 billion emalangeni. Etindzabeni teSwatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube, Vumi Nkosi Nzinisa naSindiswa Zwane kaManzini.
Imvuna yelitiko letindlu nekuthuthukiswa kwamadolobha umfana Nkosi Simelane sowudumisa idolobha laseMbabane ngayibeka imbili sive. Imvuna yethile lidolobha likwenda lokhu ngecinisekisa kuphepha kwaso ngekuthi kube netindzawo letanele tekhamba sive lesihamba ngetinyawo. Umfana Nkosi Simelane abekhuluma ngesikhathi yavula ngalokusemthethweni umgwaqo lowatiwa ngeSomhlolo Road eMbabane.
Sewufike emaphethelweni umsebenzi wokwakhiwa kwemigwaqo eMbabane lowatiwa ngeleSomhlolo Road. Lo mgwaqo uvulwe ngalokusemthethweni yindvuna yelitiko letetindlu nekuthuthukiswa kwamadolobha umfana Nkosi Simelane emsebentini lobongenelwe ngilabancusele emave abo labafaka ekhatsi lomelele leNdiya kuleli nalomelele inhlangano yakamhlaba. Indvuna umfana Nkosi Simelane ivete umlandvo lohambisana nalomgwaqo.
Kuthi lo mgwaqo lo wethiwa ngengwenyama somhlolo. Lo mgwaqo umqoka kakhulu lo ingwenyama usobhuza wesibili beyisebenzisa wona yavula lapha iglassway lapha etulu engweni mashona konke kubohoho lena yekunene beyisebenzisa lo mgwaqo lo ita lapha ema-guest house yekunene isebenzisa lo mgwaqo subala kumqoka kwalo mgwaqo nengwenyama lekhona Mswati wesithathu siyathi sisigodlo silapha etulu isebenzisa yo lo mgwaqo lona nebekunene lo mgwaqo njomane ufike ngesikhathi lo.
Umphathi welidolobha laseMbabane Gideon Mhlongo uthi lo mgwaqo ubite imali lenganga 40 million emalangeni.
We felt because let us get a specialist, a consultant to design and supervise the construction. We felt because we won't have time to close this, supervise the contractor, so it's important to have a consultant.
Lo khulumele labatawuzuza kulomgwaqo Patrick Ngwenya uthi ke le ntfutfuko bayayijabulela kakhulu. Kanti indzawo yasesandla inetakhiwo letifaka ekhatsi yemasonto emabhizinisi kanye netikolwa. Tindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
EmaSwati kufanele awasebenzise amathuba ekubambisana nabosomabhizinisi bangephandle lalethwa ngumthetho lomusha i-Citizens Empowerment Bill. Lokusho wendvuna emabhizinisi manxeba khumalo nayivula ngalokusemthethweni sitolo lesisha se-Shoprite kumathapha.
Lokusijabulisa kola ukuthi labo director bemaswati baka Shoprite bakhona akusiso nje ukuthi isitolo sekuhamba kepha lenkampani yaka Shoprite lesesikhwahlande ipartnership nemaswati labo director la kaNgwane. Lokho siyakukhuthaza kakhulu sisabuka lendzaba ye Citizens Economic Empowerment Bill ngoba vele ngiloku lefuna ukuthi sikwente ngale bill ukuthi kungafiki umsebenzi nebekuhamba bathathe le mali yethu lesithenga ngayo bayo invest engcenye kepha nemaswati abe khona kucashwe nemaswati. Lokunye lokusijabulisa ukuthi letimvo labatithengisako letinye setithengwa la kaNgwane letinye letiprocesswako sebatiprocessa la kaNgwane.
Munye webacondzisi balesitolo lesisha Sylvia Mthethwa uthi lokubathokotisa kakhulu kuletha lusito esiveni njengoba lesitolo besithingeka kulendzawo.
We are in the business of trying to turn our economy and our country around and give us the very best chance of succeeding in the huge global race.
Lesitolo lesisha se-Shoprite Supermarket sicashe bantfu labangu 150 kanti kuhlanyelwe kuso imali lengu-30 million emalangeni. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube, Vumi Nkosinzinisa na Fabrice Msonera kumathapha.
Ilinganiselwa ku-137,000 emalangeni imali leyanikelwa live leMelika inikelela sikolwa lesiphakeme sasemahlabaneni lesisaqala kwakhiwa. Ngalesine ambassador welive leMelika Eswatini Earl Miller wetfulele sakhiwo salesikolwa semagumbi lamathatfu wasetfulela sive sasemahlabaneni. Ambassador uthi lesakhiwo sibe imphumelelo ngekubambisana naletinye tinhlangothi letfaka ekhatsi inkampani yaka-US Distillers kubala letimbalwa.
Ngemuva kwesikhathi lesithe esikolwa lesiphakeme sasemahlabaneni sesinato tindlu letintsatfu tekufundzela abafundzisi. Lesi sikolwa lesisakhiwa kanti emagumbi ekufundza lamatsatfu sevele yakhiwe ngekubanjiswa live leMelika, inkampani yaka-Distillers kanye nesive kubala lokumbalwa. Mbongwa Ncamaphalala lebekatsi amelele indlunkulu emphakathi wasemahlabaneni uthi liphupho lekwakhiwa kwalesikolwa labakhona ngeminyaka wa-2016.
Bantwana bebakhathateka, bantwana umntali kufuna ehlukane nemali ongemalanga kumgibelisa aye esikolweni letibucalo kulendzawo.
Mbasata Olive leMelika Earl Miller uthi labakutfola kutsi bafundzi bahamba sigaba lesidze nabaya etikolweni letiphakeme lekuyintfo lengagcine yente umfundzi asiyekele esikolwa.
3 classrooms that will become the new high school. And I think you can see over my shoulder where the old high school was. And can you imagine students had to hike up that hill to go to school? And it's very close to the South African border. It may be across the border actually.
Mbasata ugcizelele indzaba yekuthi bantfu labasha ngibo lithemba lemaswati kungako kufanele indzaba yemfundvo bayisukumele etulu. Lesento sihambisana ngco nemagoli yakamhlaba lakhonsako ligoli lesine lelikhuluma ngekuthi wonke umntfwana kufanele atfole imfundvo lefanele angahambi nesigaba lesidze kuti afike esikolweni. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngithembelihle Magutshwa ngise Big Band emahlabaneni.
Bantfu labasha abakuleli sebafundziswa kabanti ngetindzaba temakhono laphatselene netebuchwephesha. Dr. Andile Methula umphatsi welihlangothi lwetifundvo te-computer science enyuvesi yaseswatini uthi bantfu labasha baniketwa lwati mayelana nekuthi kuvalwe lulimi emishinini lengakhona kusita bonke bantfu. Dr. Methula bekakhuluma emhlanganweni lomkhulu wekuphuma nemasu ekutfutfukisa tebuchwephesha lobanjelwe ezulwini.
Bantfu labasha labenta tifundvo tetebuchwephesha batfole litfuba lekufundza kabanti ngetindlela tekuthi imishina ikhone kuba sesigabeni sekusita bantfu ngetindlela letahlukene. Umphatsi welihlangothi lwe-computer science enyuvesi yakuleli Dr. Andile Methula uthi ke lo mhlangano utawusita kutfutfukisa emakhono inshallah nawo ekuthenini sive sitakale ngetebuchwephesha.
So lokhu kukhulu nje ukuthi abantwana bemaswati bawafunze emlangeni lama-skills akusikuphela abantwana basekwaluseni e-university abantwana bemaswati labachama nakulamanye ama-college nakulamanye ama-university even lakisi lakangwane lesikhathi esikuswele emhlabeni lapho khona i-data lwati ludrayiva umhlaba thina silive nelive kadla lase-afrika the only way lesawukhona kuparticipate ngayo kulolo kushowo kungukuthi sifundzise labantwana bethu mina nawe nje ngoba umntwana ku-computer ama-computer umntwana kufuna ifunza sesemncane so indlela yokumfundzisa kuyifaka le nto nendlela lekahle yokuparticipate kulesi sikhathi lesi ukuthi si-emphasize sigcizelele lokuthi sifundise labantwana safundisa labantwana 10 years 20 years from now you will see ukuthi the course of this country will have changed in terms of AI so that is why sithi kwekucala naloko umgcoka kunawo konke one kufundisa labantwana bethu number 2 naleti into lesifundisa labantwana le etikolweni high school primary kufuna sithi hambe tikhulumise lokho lesikukhuluma la ngakhathi ngoba uyati nawo umhlabanya lo wonke uyaconverge uyahlangana uhlangana kuleta bongcondo machine
Lo msebenzi bowungenelwe bochwephesha labasuka emaveni lehlukene ngekusekelwa tinkampani lefake ekhatsi Eswatini Revenue Service, RSTP, kanye nelibandla letilengamele tekuchumana kuletinye. Tindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginathemba Shabangu ezulwini.
Lisekela lemcondzisi wehlelo lokuvikela tifo itiko letempilo Rejoice Nkambule uthi babe lophilile ngiyena lokhona kudlala inzima lekubheka ukuthi idlalwe ngobabe kungakho itiko letempilo ligcizelela ukuthi babe akabeke embili kutihlola impilo.
Litiko letempilo lihlanganyele nabo babe nemajaha eshiselweni kuphetsa umkhankaso lobuke impilo yababe. Kanzi emavikini lengcile lelitiko lihlanganyele nebaholi bemabandla laphinze lahlanganyela nabo babe etinkundleni temidlalo. Lisekela lasihlalo weluhlelo lwekuvikela tifo etiko letempilo Rejoice Nkambule ukhuluma ngebumcoka bempilo yababe.
Sicela kugcizelela kubabe lokuthi cela ukuthi babe atinake yena ngetempilo takhe kuqala first and foremost ati ukuthi mina ngihealthy ngiyakhona ukuthola lama services ngibone ukuthi engabe iBP yami inganani ngabe shukela uhamba njani ngabe ngingatinaka kanjani ukuthi ngivikele letinye tifo lo babe lophilile nguyena ke lo tabe uyakhona kudlala letigaba letinye lesibheka ukuthi babe atidlala.
Lokuxhumanisa inhlangano iElizabeth Glazer nesive Muziyende lebambisene nelitiko letempilo uthi lo mkhankaso ube impumelelo.
Nawuthi uyabuka labanye bakhona basitena befika kule micimbi lebesinayo nabathi bayatesta labanye bakhanzakala ukuthi lizinga lashukela lisekhulu kakhulu engatini kwadzingeka ukuthi bagijinyiswe emtholampilo lokusita konke kuba naleti inhlelo leto tsenini babe utawubuyela ekhaya asadlala isimo sakhe ukuthi kanjani nokuthi ke utawuphinza ugcugcutele labanye bobabe ukuthi batithathe leti inhlelo tetempilo ukuthi likhona liviphila lihambele phambili.
Litiko letempilo liyachubeka kunxusa bobabe ukuthi makunetingcoco labatibambako balibite lelitiko litawuchubeka nekukhutsata sive ngetempilo. Lobika-ke Ndzabente Eswatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisenhlangano.
Masipala wakamanzini uyikhathalele impilo etakhamuti telidolobha kakhulu lebantfu labadzala. Longumeya welidolobha lakamanzini Nosipho Gametsa uchaza ngelisito labaliletsele bantfu labadzala itolo.
Abantu labadzala sibathokozisa ngetinto letinyenti sicale ukuthi bafike ekseni sinalo commission lotohlola nje impilo kusukela edifferent tabo kusukela kubo BP ushukela nako konke kubahlola nje ukuthi baphile kangakanani emtimbeni ngoba ezibakhula kumcoka lokuthi bathi ukuthi le mitimba ihamba ibe buthakathaka so lo commission utosisita lokho ukuthi bathi babuyele emakhaya babe banawo emakhathakhatha ukuthi bamane bachubeke nempilo.
Lofundzisa ngetempilo emaphoyiseni Lungile Vilakati uthi timpawu letikhomba ukuthi umuntu uhlose kutibulala akufuni sitithathele phansi kodwa kumcoka ukuthi sibuke tindlela tekuthi loyo muntu angasitakala kanjani.
Emaphoyisa embube ayachubeka nekubuketa tindlela letingasetshenziswa kunciphisa lizinga lebantfu labatibulalako lapha eveni. Lofundzisa ngetempilo emaphoyiseni Lungile Vilakati uthi lokunye lokuyaye kubangele kutsi bantfu batibulale kutfala buhlungu bangabhoboki ngabo.
Umuntu lofuna ukutibulala uvamisile lokukhuluma. Nangabe akakhulumi, lama signs alokuthi ufuna ukutibulala, don't ignore them. Kwesithu ukuthi lo muntu nasumbonile savumile ukuthi yathi mina ngicabanga ukutibulala. Musonzede kuma support group. Either uyamikisa ku psychologist noma umikise ku spiritual mentor emasonfeni o ummikise la ngathola khona lisito lelivutane naye. Umngani angasonzela ahlale abe naye nefamily yakhe imsupport. Nikweshise letinvo letitilimate noma letinvo letingamsita ukuthi atibulale. Lekufaka ekhathi labo pesticide like bo master 900 ema firearms or medication thide. If loyo muntu loyo uthatha medication thide for chronic sickness ngiyabekisa nje bo BP, lo muntu loyo mubude ukuthi ulinatha kanjani leliphilisi bese uyamthathela uyamkhokhela uyamnika in order ukuthi si avoid lokuthi lo muntu utawuthatha lamaphilisi ngelinani lelingedulu kwaloko labathide alinathe ngalo.
Vilakade uchubeka uyacwayisa ukuthi umuntu lonetimpawu tekutibulala uyadzinga kulalelwa nekunakwa kakhulu kuloko lokumkhatsatako kanye nekulandzelelwa ngaso sonke isikhatsi. Lobika-ke Ndzabente Eswatini TV, nguthando kuhle Mdluli, ngikahlatsi.
Kudemidlalo umvana Nkosi Sibahle sewukhuthatha emacembu abomake emidlalweni webhola ukuthi achubeka asebende ngekuthi ikhandla kude ukuthi ibhola yabomake lapha eveni ithuthuke. Umvana Nkosi Sibahle ukuvetelwa kwemcimbini weklomelisa emacembu abomake ladlale kahle kule season lephelile iWomen's League.
Inhlangano ledlalisa ibhola yabomake ibambe umcimbi wekuhlomelisa abadlali kanye nemacembu lahambe embili kusizini ya 2022-2023. Akhuluma kulo mcimbi umvana Nkosi Sibahle uchazile ukuthi kuyinjabulo ukubona ibhola yabomake ithuthuka lapha eveni.
On behalf of Her Royal Highness Nkosikazi Lambegiza and Wonderville, and one of those roles to assist Eswatini Football Association in developing the sport. The Month of the Month award is to appreciate the players and to encourage them as they play their league games throughout the season. It creates competitiveness within players as they play and improve their game. This sees them and even being recognized and selected into the national teams.
Mengameli wenhlangano lengamele ibhola kuleli Peter Smelane uthi bayinhlangano batawuchubeka kusekela yona ibhola yabomake.
We do, however, note that there is a need to be a good foundation for a production of more women football players and the sustenance of the women game. In this regard, a couple of developments in the women game have been implemented, namely the EFA Pick and Pay Under 15 Girls Tournament, the Talent Development Scheme, the engagement of women leaders into the COSAFA Women in the Leadership Program.
Bongkhosi Mhlanga longusihlalo webhola yabomake uthi bafise kutfola linyendi lalabomake labangabasekela. Licembu le-Young Buffaloes Ladies ngilo champeni kanti ke umdlali walo lelo cembu uceliwe Nkambule kube nguye lothole umhlomelo wemdlali loshaya emagoli lamanyendi ukole emagoli langu-58. I-Royal Leopard Ladies ibe yesibili kwase kuthi iNsingizini Ladies Team yaba yesithathu. Kuphinze kwahlonyeliswa abadlali labahamba embili etinyangeni letahlukahlukene pheceleti ama-Player of the Month. Kubika Sifiso Nxumalo umbiko uhlanganiswe nguFabrice Msonera eMbabane.
Ngaleto temidlalo sitibeka phansi itindzaba tethu tesiswati lomhla ekuseni sitabahla etimakethe nasibuya sitabe sikhulumisana na LinkedIn Gule lolapha eRussia for iRussia Africa Summit.
What do you think the best part of traveling is?
Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget, because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Eswatini Lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive, and swag. Eswatini Lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places, and trends in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini Lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini Lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
35 minutes after 6 ngolelo muhle siphindze sikwamukele elihlelweni sithembisile lo ukuthi sitaqhumana na LinkedIn Gule our senior journalist lo lapha eveni la Russia for Russia Africa Summit. Ukhumbula nje ukuthi Russia is indeed hosting this summit of African countries as world tensions grow and increases in food prices following Moscow's withdrawal from the grain shipment agreements that were signed with Ukraine and Turkey. La salinyeva kakhulu emaveni lamanengi ase Africa. LinkedIn ngikuvusela nje in hosting this two-day gathering that began esukwini la Itolo. Ingabe iRussia izamani vele, is it seeking to cast its image as a partner of the African continent?
Sifiso asivusele nembukelo yomsakazo namhla ekseni uteka yona ucalile lo mhlangano weRussia Africa Summit lapha eSt Petersburg. Liphinde kanjena nkulu kumhlonishwa Themba Masuku ukhona kulo mhlangano utawumelela ke ngonyama emhlaba ngosi Mswati wesithathu. Uyakhumbula lo ukuthi kunana ligama lelisebenza kuSifiso lisetshenziswa mhlambe uprofessor nalabo labafunde incwadi kakhulu bathi scrambling for Africa. Yakhumbula lo ukuthi kuba nemhlangano i-European Union ibe nemavasi eAfrica, kube nemhlangano weChina Africa Summit, kube nemhlangano weIndia Africa Summit, US Africa Summit, neRussia ke nayo yazama ukuthi position eAfrica ukuthi iqinise ubudlelwane bayo nemavela 54 alapha eAfrica. Hence kwaqala le Russia Africa Summit ingena ke ku summit yayo yesibili le. iRussia nayo iyazama ukuthi letha eAfrica ukuthi it is one of the global powerhouses nangafuna ukuyibeka kanjalo. Nayo ukuthi ke ifuna lo ukuthi njoba la sikhona khona nje Sifiso lesikhona ukusebenzisa kahle ngoWhatsApp kuphela. Uyakhumbula ukuthi iRussia under ima-sanctions. Na ufuna nje encinye ufuna ukuthenga inamnede ngelikhadi lakho lelo lisebenzisako lapha ekhaya akasebenzi la eRussia. Uyofuna ukungena mhlambe ukuxhumana nawe nangifuna ukuxhumana nawe kuFacebook angikhoni ngoba Facebook abangeni la. Ngifuna ukuxhumana nawe kuTwitter angikhoni ngoba Twitter akasebenzi la eRussia. So what is Russia is now trying to do izama lo ukuthi mhlambe iwine iAfrica ukuthi iAfrica ibuye ngakuyo eRussia just like lamanye emave nehlangano kamhlaba etenda. Basically that's what Russia is trying to do with this summit, ufaka influence yayo kulamavasi eAfrica.
Siyambona ke Vladimir Putin, I think inkulumo yakhe la yetfule nakavula lo mhlangano sawuthembise emave ala Africa lafaka ekhatsi iBurkina Faso, iZimbabwe, iMali, Somalia ne Central African Republic as well as Eritrea. Uthi I am ready to grant at no charge from 25 to 50,000 tons of grain to Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, and Central African Republic and Eritrea in the next 3 to 4 months. Bese ke lenzaba lena seyibuka emavi United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres. LinkedIn umvile a couple of days ago when he was warning ekutheni a handful of donations to some countries will not offset the dramatic impact of Russia's decision to leave a Black Sea deal that had allowed that had allowed rather Ukraine to export grain worldwide. Lo mbuto ke ubese sothi asibi conflicted singema African countries LinkedIn ekutheni sikhona ngale ka UN lapho khona Guterres uvetela amagama lawo. Nawo ngenyalo Putin so yasibita njalo siyiAfrica usithembisa nakula sithembisa kona.
So indzaba ngicabanga ukuthi perspective la ibuye ngayo Antonio Guterres indzaba nje yendlala emhlabeni. That's why. Ukuthi ikakhulukazi icontinent lebesishayeka kakhulu icontinent yase-Afrika lamavela kawabalele Vladimir Putin yes nomavela awaladzinga kudla as in yesterday bavela phakathi kweSomalia we know i-drought eseSomalia ukuthi ingakanani but nangabe sekutawumikisa 25,000 to 50,000 tons of grain ingabe bangakudla kuze kube isikhathi esingakanani leso naye lenzaba la sifisa ekuthenini iRussia nayisayina le Black Deal last year leya spearheadwa United Nations neKenya bakhona ukuthi bahambise 30 million tons of grain. Uyakhumbula ukuthi more than a third of African countries lathenga igrain lelinywa eveni lase-Ukraine nase-Russia. Akagcini-ke la so ngalokuphuma kulezivumelwano lesi Putin akalimali nje kuphela lamave lawa langifola utawacambutela lokudla maningi because lamanye athenga abomanyolo labaqhamuka khona e-Ukraine nani so nangabe kungasakhoni kuhamba i-problem le nokuthi ke akakagcini lapho ngalokuphuma kulezivumelwano uphindze wabhomba lama-ports ase-Ukraine kwalimala kudla lokuningi ngiko-ke la kufike i-Africa bese iba nelinyeva khona William Ruto nje longekho lapho emhlangano lo because that's another issue ukuthi some of these African leaders ba-opte kungedi yakhumbula lokuthi eminyakeni wa-2021 bebangu-49 nangaphosisi bebakhona out of the 54 countries namhla kuna only 17 William Ruto waseKenya wavele wachaza nakacisa nje kuphuma 10 days ago I think nakaphuma kwezivumelwano Putin wathi iRussia istep eAfrica ngemuva yet Russia ifuna kuba yi-friend of Africa so le relationship ya Africa and Russia ngalenzaba yase-Ukraine ngiyo lelinyeva kakhulu into lesimangaliso singivile nje president waseZimbabwe Emmerson Mnangagwa athi no bona they are good friends with the Russian president ngiko nabo bangenile la kulamavela athathola lokudla but then what about the rest nale humanitarian crisis ke bese seyavela ngale sento sekuthi Russia yaqhubeka nokugadla lapha e-Ukraine so le relationship iyamendwa sifiso but uyabona ukuthi akamehle kahle nje president Putin lokusabo mengameli laba bancane kakhulu laba attendele umhlangano lona mina-ke bese sola laba base-West ukuthi probably ngiwe emavase ase-Mpumalanga especially France, England and the United States nange amavela akhala kakhulu ukuthi ngiyo mhlambe la bese afaka i-pressure e-Africa ukuthi i-Africa ayisuke kuRussia yena-ke line alisebenzisako ukuthi i-Africa ingakhohlwa ukuthi lamavela lawa ngiyo lawa lebakade abambe i-Africa ngabhongwane so lokho afuna kwenta njalo nanyana.
Yeah, and I do remember an interview with Cyril Ramaphosa and another one with Naledi Pandor, and I think Julius Malema also highlighted the fact that Russia was there in South Africa when those other countries that you are mentioning were abusing South Africa, which makes this whole thing quite conflicting and tricky for a lot of African countries linked in. Utsinza indzaba kwekuthi kunebaholi bemava se-Africa labangedi kule Russia Africa Summit and inombolo lenengi nawubuka leya last year. Engabe LinkedIn is Russia really doing what it can to keep its remaining allies, and do we really call them allies at this point, because there is this sentiment kwekuthi some of these countries that are attending are not necessarily allies but they fear not having a good relationship with Russia?
They are not allies, yes. And I wouldn't say they fear not having a good relationship. Uyakhumbula kuthiwa nakuvotwa ku-United Nations kuvotela ukuthi Russia ayibeke phasi ikhali ingayihlaseli i-Ukraine. Emava se-Afrika abstain angavote because bekangafuni nalokuthi akathi ngenza abadala amanye amave. That's our foreign policy baseswatini ukuthi sina sidingenza abadala amanye amave la kuliwa khona sawuchamuka sibakangwane sifunele kuhambile ukuthi singahlala njani phansi ikhulunywe lenzaba le. So iAfrica ikhanza ke manje ilamkhathini yokuthi yes awufuni kuyiphatha kabi iRussia and again awufuni uphatha kabi the western world. Seyilamkhathini ke iAfrica ayisathi ukuthi yase ithatha ini ibhicanani but nje ke lokunye but bese iAfrica kuyiphatha kabi yo ngoba ukuthi utawukhumbula ukuthi kunana iICC iInternational Criminal Court lekhiphe incwadi ekuboshwa kwaMengameli Putin lokwento nje Putin angeke akhona ke eSouth Africa by the end of the year ayongenela iBRICS summit baningi ababoshwe ngale nkantolo baholi base-Afrika live lelihamba embili ukukhuluma ngale nkantolo ukuthi ayihlonishwe njani. United States is not a signatory ku-ICC ngilokhu bese ke iAfrica kahle bese ke mavela manje neSouth Africa bese iconsider nayo ukuthi ayiphume la kule ICC lo yokuthi iUnited States ihamba embili ngale nkantolo but ayisilo member yethi lamavela angema member ona ayathula bese ke ngiko iAfrica ithi in as much as ibona ukuthi iyazuza probably in the West but ikhala ngokuthi iWest idlala ema double standards because yenta lokho lokutawuzuza yona ngelinye likhadi ke lasebenzako Mengameli Putin ukuthi no lamava aseWest ma hypocrites they don't have your best interest at heart and here is Russia ready to support ema initiatives lamaningi ekuthuthukisa iAfrica khumbula ukuthi naseSwatini ufikile Serge Lavrov foreign minister walapha African tour ahambela lamabhasi eAfrica trying to exert influence yeRussia over the continent.
I certainly do remember lama bilateral relations akhe bekawenda visiting different countries. LinkedIn usathinza yona indzaba yokuthi Putin will not be able to attend iBRICS in August. Siyetfola lo ukuthi Ramaphosa is one of baholi base-Africa labakhona ku-Russia Africa Summit. Is that so?
Yes, ukhona President Ramaphosa kulo mhlangano lo kubheka ukuthi aphinza abe nemhlangano naye eMengameli Putin ngemgcibelo lo ilanga lakusasa la eSt Petersburg kuba khona kwakheke naye iAfrica sisofuna ibukeka so iAfrica is divided into four kunemavela asendasi neAfrica le ku southern part la sikhona khona sibaseswatini ipowerhouse lapho iSouth Africa if ubambe iSouth Africa lokho ukuthi uyibambile iSouthern Africa when you go to the west utafike uthole emavela afana nabo Nigeria na ubamba iNigeria uyibambile the west of Africa iNigeria President Tinubu akekho lapho mhlangano now ya ku east ufuna ubambe emavela afayikhathi bo Rwanda nabo Ethiopia and wabamba iRwanda wabamba wabamba bo Kenya ngale east iKenya ayikho kulomhlangano lo iRwanda Paul Kagame nanaye akekho lapho mhlangano ukhona prime minister wase-Ethiopia lo sengilamanye kulamavela ngale ke eNorth unfortunately amavase eNorth they don't regard themselves that much ukuthi bangema-Africans but bakhona nabo kulo mhlangano lo so kuba ngekho kwalama presidents nanga kulama blocks the big countries kulama blocks it speaks volumes kulokuzama kwenziwa live lase-Russia but kukhona President Ramaphosa le Southern Africa kutaba nawo lo mhlangano lo lesethembayo lo ukuthi mhlawumbe tawuthelathi sethu yakhumbula iAfrica pheze sifise aggrieved ukuthi last month baqhamuka abaholi base-Africa bahola nguPresident Ramaphosa ngiyakhumbula beyakhona naPresident waseZambia Hakainde Hichilema utama kutawukhulumisana naPresident Putin na President Zelensky le bakhala ngabo baholi base-Africa ukuthi Putin in as much as baba naye ku round table but akazange abalalele kude akabanikanga indlela ngakubeka kanjalo ngoko le bakuchaza ukuthi akabathathi serious yet uyafuna kuba ne relationship le serious with the continent.
Yeah, asivale ke nge-relationship ye-Eswatini ne-Russia LinkedIn you did highlight briefly i-visit ya Sergey Lavrov nakafika lapha eSwatini. It was January, I remember very well. Some of the sentiments that he shared because bekaqhamuka eSouth Africa. eSouth Africa lapho khona afike wabutana khona nge-state of politics ase-South Africa. What in any case, we don't like to interfere with any country's politics. That's the same thing that he came to say in Eswatini, but he did pledge his support Russia to Eswatini. But they are training Eswatini personnel and they want to improve food production lapha eVenlakangwane, and also just in assistance in terms of issues of mutual cooperation. We do have 50 Maswati that are being trained khona eRussia. Let's talk about just the diplomatic relationship of Eswatini and Russia. LinkedIn.
Yes, Sifisi, utaqala ngalokuthi i-foreign policy yelive laseSwatini sikuna inhlangano thina lekuthiwa i-non-aligned. Thina asidingeni ukuzabadala amanye emabhe, singumngani walo lonke live, friend to all and enemy to none. So i-relationship yethu nebase-Russia yihle. Uyakhumbula nawe ukuthi nje kumele kwentanga kulo ukuthi kungena kweMaswati la eRussia laphathe ama-passport, diplomatic passport ne-service passport. Ayidingeki ivisa. Ngibe ngifakazi ke nami ngifika la Russia with the passport nami lenginayo. Basithetha bangifuna ivisa base bathatha emabhuku baphenya bakhanza ukuthi live leSwatini lebudlelwane neRussia. Befakazi ukuthi abantu bema-passport lathide batavele bangene nje la Russia ngaphandle ukuthi bafune emavisa. So budlelwane neRussia neSwatini budlelwane lobuhle lesithemba ukuthi takuqhubeka bukhule lizuze laseSwatini lizuze nayo iRussia kule budlelwane lobukhona. But okuphila it is our foreign policy leclear yaseSwatini ukuthi thine singumngani wawo onke emave asisiso sitha semuntu.
LinkedIn, ngifisela a peaceful stay while you're in Russia. Zelensky angagadli. I understand you are not just with the Deputy Prime Minister there who's representing His Majesty King Mswati III. I think in some of the visuals that you were able to send us, I did see Tourism Minister Umhlonishwa. I think the delegation vele. So my prayer, my one prayer is angagadli Zelensky nisese lapho niqhubeke nibe safe nikhona ukusitfulela lemibiko lenisitfulela yona LinkedIn.
Sabakhulu imali nostawuhlala siphephile thina la eRussia sikhathi ngilo mdzala wethu.
LinkedIn Goli Nsathele Msakato, he's our senior journalist lapha ekhaya Eswatini TV. Ukhona khona eRussia kusibukela umsebenzi weRussia Africa Summit asetfulele wona. Kanzi-ke bekakhona nalapha nje eItaly eRome lapho khona bekune Food Systems Summit la sethulele khona leto tindzaba lebetichubeka tindzaba tentfutfuko letindzaba ke tekuzama nje kulungisa tindzaba tekudla lapha events. Ithemba lo ukuthi utasitfulela leminye imibiko imisebenzi isachubeka khona eRussia. Ibona etindzabeni probably tasemini tantsambama makubumbana insimbi yesikhombisa uyaphuma nje nyalo uyongena kuwo lo mhlangano lomkhulu nangaka utasipha loyo mbiko kwelo muhle sibona ukuthi solo uhleli nathi sibahlola imarket sibuya sichubeka nalo lihlelo ungayinzawo.
Nene bekunene kusetandleni tesive ukuthi imimango ingagcini kukampunzi edla emini. Sive sakangwane nebantu labakhethe kuhlala eSwatini abaphile ngekukhululeka nekuthi kubete lo nyathelo lilungelo lalabanye egameni lekufuna lilungelo lakhe. Sive asikhumbule ukuthi emaphoyisa bomake nabobabe labatinikele kwenta siqiniseko ukuthi wonke umuntu lwenempahla yakhe ingacekelwa phansi ngulomunye. Wonke umuntu akahlale ngekuthula nangaphandle kokwesaba tintwe letingatiwa. Emaphoyisa ngekulandzela nekushiqilela umthetho athi into yemuntu ayibe ngeyakhe umuntu. Sive asijinge siwabambise siphinde siwasekele emaphoyisa emsebentini wawo. Kude emalungelo aso sive osomabhizinisi kanye nebantu labasebentako anganyatheleki. Khona-ke imimango itawukwakha nemakhaya akhulise bantwana ngaso sandla lesiya emlonyeni. Emaphoyisa naso sive abasebente ngebudlelwane nangekubambisana kulwa nebucala netingoti temgwaco.
Right, 53 minutes after 6 ngwelo muhla siphinze sikwamukele ehlelweni ngabe sikanjani simo emigwaqweni Sergeant Bekumuzi Gule utasipha leyo update mina nje nangitem 17 ngibonile ukuthi kunemigwaqo leminingi velele lungiswako lapha edolobheni eMbabane engabe Magwabane sikuvusela nje kuseni uthi nombiko losiphathele wona
Kusile Mnguni kusile nakuyo umbukelo welihlelo kunjalo edolobheni laseMbabane imigwaqo leminingi iyalungiswa cishe nje even lonke Mnguni ungasafika kuphela la eMbabane siyambona uhulumende siyababona labo labafanele benesiqiniseko sokuthi imigwaqo ihlala ingileyo lephephile kwethu ke sibashayele ukuthi sihloniphe ikakhulukazi etindzaweni lapho kusetshenzwa khona siyawubuka nje edolobheni nawusuka lapha eTotal Gardens ubheka khona lapha kuBuildit uhamba ngaSozisa Road leso staladi siyalungiswa umgwaqo lomkhulu losuka khona ngakaDelta Makhosikhosi naso lokustaladi lesibheka lapha ngase-Chinese Embassy kanjalo naMsakato Street nalethi ngesinye setitaladi ekhasi edolobheni lapho kuphishaneke khona kulungiswa kwayo imigwaqo ibe sesimele esikahle kuthi tonke ke leto tindzawo imotolo noma ke bashayeli bawuniketana emathuba kulandzela ukuthi munye umzila lo sebendako kuleto ngcingwana leto kanti ke lo mgwaqo losuka lapha eCourt noma ke lo Somhlelo Road longena khona ekhasi edolobheni sibonile itolo indvuna iwuvula kepha ke uvulile nje ke asijinge sisho bekunene ukuthi ngomgwaqo lona lunetakhamuti letiningi netikolwa lapha sibhekekile ukuthi ke letubane lesihamba ngalo silihloniphe libe ngilelo leliphansi kakhulu siyanaka ukuthi etindzaweni etendlulile noma ke isikhathi lesendlulile bekuba nema speed humps lapha lesikholwa ukuthi njengoba sibonile bafake wona ama temporary speed humps asetawubuya asilehlise litubane libe ngileliphansi sibili sisasonzela ke kuleyo ngcingwana leyo kanti ke na uphuma khona ngeke laseNgwenya uya lapha indasi kumathapha la sibona khona timane temgwaqo emadolobheni ethu tingileto letisebenta kahle eMbabane kumathapha kaManzini nalapha enhlangano noko lesingakuphawula umthamo wetimotolo edolobheni elikhulu lakhona lapha kumathapha nemthamo wona olabamba ngesinyawo ubonakala ungelo setulo ikakhulukazi kunanga ngiyamgwaqo losuka lapha kaNdlunganye uyofika khona lapha ku-Police Academy bekunene siyacela ukuthi asichubeke sishayele ngalokukhulu ukucophelela ikakhulukazi kubaniketa wona emathuba laphephile ekowela wona umgwaqo sinakeke futhi netindzawo tekewela atisasike letibonakalako kahle kulandzela ukuthi leyo midwebo yaphansi ayisabonakali nje bekunene sichubeke sihloniphane siniketane emathuba lapha indasi yenhlangano khona nawusuka khona lapha kaMjuda ubheka khona lapha kuBering noma ke uhamba kanamgwaqo lo uhamba ngendasi kwebus rank leyo mgwaqo leyo ke namuhla uvaliwe nawusuka lapha kule junction lesuka ebus rank uyofika lapha eTulu ngathi ubheka khona eBering nekwenda ke ukuthi ke labo labaphuma erenkini noma ke labaqhamuka khona kubohlathi bafuna ukujikela ngasenqele kaMjuda bayophumela mshiya lo wangathi ubheka eShluthi abakhona ukusebenzisa leyo mgwaqo ngakho ke sawubhekeka ukuthi siqhubeke ngalokuqonzile sibheke lapha eTulu ngakafaya singene ekhasi nedolobha siyawudibona ke noko timpawu leti ngitona tiyawusixwayisa ngetindlela letilula lesingahamba ngato siphumele kuwo umgwaqo lo MR11 siphinde futhi bekunene sikhuthade ukuthi nawusuka khona lapha emathendele wenyukela khona lapha eTulu kafaya loyo mgwaqo lo bekunene sowulungisiwe kepha ke usede imidwebo yaphansi nakhona asinake kakhulu ke sishayele ngalokukhulu ucophelela kuletinye tifunza nakhona asisizelele ukuthi imigwaqo leminingi ungaba ngumgwaqo lonelitiyela noma ke lo delitiyela leminingi ayisiyo lehambekako inema potholes inemisedlana emehlo ethu akabe ngilakhaliphile kucenza yona indlela siyakumela sonke nje asisikhuthathe sive semaswathi bekunene ukuthi asichubeke sisinake sihloniphe imithetho yomgwaqo sikhumbule ukuthi kushayela imotolo sowuthethe imandela zakusako kulicala ngakho ke asenesiqiniseko sokuthi ke siyatinaka siyahlonipha leyo mithetho yelelive kuze sibe ngilabaphephile ngenifisela kusebenzela kuhle endlini emsakato naso sive semaswathi sisibisele lona lilanga lelihle yebona leliphephile sisayisebenzisa imgwaqo siyabonga kakhulu
Sibonga kakhulu Magwabane cansi ngwalo muhle sodwa watisana labanye ukuthi kufuna bambukele kusile breakfast show kakhulu labaqhuba imotolo ngoba nje umbiko lofana nalona lasethulela wona umcwa kakhulu saye wakhona emigwaqweni kusaqalwa lisuku kwalo mhla sibahlola market sibe sichubene ehlelo
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, We are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
It's just gone 7 a.m. Let's take a look at our English news. His Majesty King Mswati III has implored developed nations to financially assist agriculture projects in the developing world. His Majesty's speech was delivered by the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku during the closing ceremony of the United Nations Food System Summit that was organized by FAO in Italy.
The United Nations Food System Summit that was organized by the Food and Agricultural Organization FAO ended by a plenary session where the issue of financing food systems in all UN member states was discussed at length. The Deputy Prime Minister, Senator Themba Masuku, represented His Majesty King Mswati III during the session. When making remarks on behalf of His Majesty the King, Masuku put it explicitly clear that food systems will not yield the desired results if they are not financially supported by developing nations and financial institutions like the World Bank and the African Development Bank, among others.
We are aware that today's food systems are facing multiple crises. They are responsible for a large share of greenhouse gas emissions, biodiversity loss, water pollution, and soil degradation. They fall short in providing adequate nutrition and livelihoods for billions of people around the world.
The Deputy Prime Minister says the Eswatini government will continue to engage other stakeholders to find ways of strengthening the food systems in the country.
The Kingdom of Eswatini started by organizing the food systems dialogues for a number of stakeholders, ranging from government institutions, private sector players, civil society, and from organizations. The outcome of these engagements, which are our food systems pathways, are owned and led not only by government, but all the various players that are expected to implement the same. Going forward, it is necessary to have regular platforms to inform policy and regulatory changes that will sustain the implementation of our food system. I just want to emphasize that we have one dying planet. We have an increasing population. We need to act, not tomorrow.
Shortly after delivering His Majesty's speech, Masuku had a private meeting with FAO Director General Dr. Q Dong-Yu. The Deputy Prime Minister then headed to Russia to represent His Majesty the King during the ongoing Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. For Eswatini TV News, I am Lincoln Kule in Russia.
Commerce Minister Manqoba Khumalo encourages the Maswati to take membership of cooperatives for the country. He says this is important, that all these members take this seriously to realize sustainable development. The minister said this during this year's celebration of the Cooperatives Day, which was held at Mavuso Sports Center in Manzini. The theme for this year's celebration is Cooperatives, Partners for Accelerated Development.
Government has over the years been working tirelessly to lay the ground for cooperative organizations to carry out their business without hindrances. This includes the enactment of laws and policies to ensure unlimited growth for Emaswati. Minister of Commerce, Senator Mangoba Khumalo, says such laws are promulgated in accordance with the wishes of Eswatini.
Currently, we've got more than 1,200 cooperatives that are registered and active in the country. I have no doubt that such initiatives emanating from cooperatives in the country will continue to have significant contribution to the sustainable development goals, such as goal number 8, which speaks to decent work and economic growth.
President of the National Cooperatives Federation of Eswatini, Sifiso Mhlongo, says all cooperatives operating in the country must be legally registered.
Singakutsata tinhlangano telibanjiswana kuthi nangabe inhlangano yakho iyekulima siyayikhutsata ukuthi ayihambe iyojoyina kwa-esamco. Nangabe kuyinhlangano yebantu labasha siyayikhutsata ukuthi ayihambe iyojoyina ku-esnika. Nangabe kuye konga nekuboleka siyakhutsata ukuthi ayihambe iyojoyina ku-esasco.
Eswatini cooperatives have a combined asset base of 2.5 billion emalangeni and 1.3 billion emalangeni in issued loans. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbongwa Dube with Vumingosi Nzinisa and Sindiswa Zwane in Manzini.
The Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Prince Simelane, commends the Municipal Council of Mbabane for considering pedestrians during the construction of the Somhlolo Road. The minister says the traffic lights will ensure safety for Eswatini. Prince Simelane was speaking when commissioning the use of the newly rehabilitated Somhlolo Road.
The rehabilitation of the Somhlolo Road in Mbabane has been completed. The Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Prince Simelane, has commissioned the official use of the road. Speaking during the officiation event that was graced by the Indian High Commissioner and the United Nations Resident Coordinator, Minister Prince Simelane gave a brief history about the road.
Ngalomgwaqo umqoka kakhulu lo ingwenyama usobhuza wesibili beyisebenzisa wona yavula lapha iglassway lapha etulu engweni.
Prince Simelane says King Sobhuza used the road to open Ngwenya glass. Prince Simelane says the Sandla is no longer a residential area as the ministry is working on allocating spaces to embassies. Prince Simelane thanked the Municipal Council of Mbabane for securing funding for the rehabilitation of the road. The Mbabane Municipal Council CEO Gideon Mhlongo says the road rehabilitation cost about 40 million emalangeni. Mhlongo says the road is one of the most important roads since there are churches, colleges and other important institutions.
We felt, let us get a specialist, a consultant to design and supervise the construction. We felt so we won't have time to close this, supervise the contractor, so it's important to have a consultant.
The beneficiaries' representative, Patrick Ngwenya, says they welcome the development as more people stand to benefit, especially business institutions as well as residents. For Eswatini TV News on Domlangeni, Temba Shabango, Mbabane.
Forging partnerships with established businesses people will help Eswatini to grow economically, as this is the aspiration of the recently passed Citizens Empowerment Bill. This was said by the Minister of Commerce, Senator Mangoba Khumalo, during the official opening of Shoprite Supermarket in Matsapa.
Ukusijabulisa kola ukuthi labo director beMaswati baka Shoprite bakhona akusiso nje ukuthi isitoro sekuhamba kepha lenkampani yaka Shoprite lesesikhwahlande ipartnership yaMaswati labo director la kaNgwane lokho siyakhuthata kakhulu sisabuka lenzaba ye Citizens Economic Empowerment Bill ngoba vele ngiloku lefuna ukuthi sikwente ngale bill ukuthi kungafiki umsebenzi nebekuhamba bathathe le mali yethu lesithenga ngayo bayo-investe engcenye kepha nemaswati abe khona kuqashwe nemaswati. Lokunye lokusijabulisa ukuthi le timvo labatithengisako letinye setithengwa la Kangwane, letinye letiprocesswako sebatiprocessa la Kangwane.
One of the directors of the new ShopRite supermarket, Sylvia Mtetwa, says, as directors, they are honored to bring the much-needed service to the people of Matapa.
We are in the business of trying to turn our economy and our country around and give us the very best chance of succeeding in the huge global race.
The new ShopRite store has opened employment opportunities for 150 people and the total investment is 30 million emalangeni. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Mbongwa Dube, Vumingo Senzinisa and Fabrice Msonera in Matapa. Young people of Eswatini in the IT space have been capacitated on machine learning that is related to artificial intelligence. The computer science head of department in the University of Eswatini, Dr. Andile Metula, says young people will have a chance to develop programs that can help more people. Dr. Metula was speaking during the Deep Learning Indaba 2023, which was held in Eswatini.
The Deep Learning Indaba consists of structured lectures and practical sessions by different speakers within multidisciplinary fields such as computer science and geosciences, among other fields. The computer science senior lecturer at UNESWA, Dr. Andile Metula, says the objective of the seminar is to support local researchers in Eswatini to enhance and strengthen local and international links for collaboration.
Main thing in Mlangeni is to promote machine learning in our country. You know our vision as a country. Our vision as a country is to harness, is to use ICTs to develop this country. We need to develop this country using ICT. And one way, of course, of doing that, it is to equip our young people with the right skills. It's them who are going to assist us to partake in the 4IR. So that is why we are here. That is why we are putting them in the forefront of this event.
The Indaba is expected to continue on Friday. It is supported by SCCOM, the Central Bank of Eswatini, Center for Financial Inclusion, among other stakeholders. Eswatini TV News on Mlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Ezulwini.
The Municipal Council of Manzini prioritizes the welfare of the city's residents, especially the elderly. The Manzini Municipal Council Mayor Nosipho Gametse explains about services brought closer to the elderly in an event held at the Millennium Park in Manzini.
Abantu labadala sibathokozisa ngezinto letinyenti siqale ukuthi bafike ekseni sinalo commission lo tohlola nje impilo kusukela different tabo kusukela kubo BP ushukela nako konke kubahlola nje ukuthi baphile kangakanani emtimbeni ngoba ezibakhulu kumcoka lokuthi bathi ukuthi le mitimba ihamba ibe buthakathaka. So lo commission utosida lokho ukuthi bathi babuyele emakhaya babe banawo emakhathakhatha ukuthi bamane baqhubeke nempilo.
In our sports news, Princess Sibahle has encouraged women football clubs to work tirelessly towards the development of women football in the country. The princess was speaking on behalf of Wanderville, who were part of the sponsorship stakeholders of the women football season for 2022-2023. Princess Sibahle was speaking during the prize presentation of the Women's League at Sikwaqa House.
The Women Football Association held their press presentation of the Women Football League for the season of 2022-2023. Princess Bahle, who spoke on behalf of Wanderville that contributed to the sponsorship of the league, encouraged clubs to work hard and improve women football in the country.
On behalf of Her Royal Highness Nkosikazi Lambegiza and Wanderville, and one of those wrote to assist Eswatini Football Association in developing the sport. The Month of the Month award is to appreciate the players and to encourage them as they play their league games throughout the season. It creates competitiveness within players as they play and improve their game. This sees them and even being recognized and selected into the national teams. Tebeza Mhlekazi.
Eswatini Football Association President Peter Simelane says the federation will continue to support and contribute to the growth of the women football in the country.
Note that there is a need to be a good foundation for a production of more women football players and the sustenance of the women game. In this regard, a couple of developments in the women game have been implemented, namely the EFA Pick and Pay Under 15 Girls Tournament, the Talent Development Scheme, the engagement of women leaders into the COSAFA Women in the Leadership Program.
Women Football Association Chairperson Bongos Mhlanga highlighted the importance of having full sponsorships for the upcoming seasons. Eventual champions Young Buffaloes ladies team walked away with their trophy alongside with their top scorer of the league, Tseriwe Ngambule, who netted 58 goals. Royal Leopard ladies were awarded as second team of the league, while third was Nsingizin ladies team. Players who also outshined others during the league each month were awarded. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msonera, Mbabane.
What is our weather forecast looking like today? You'll know now as we go for our ad break.
What do you think the best part of traveling is? Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget, because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Eswatini Lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive, and swag. Eswatini Lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places, and trends in the Kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini Lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini Lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Sibugo Semaswati.
All right, it's 17 minutes after 7. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at our international news. We start in Russia, where Russian President Vladimir Putin said the trade turnover between Russia and African countries had increased by almost 35% in the first half of 2023. And this is despite international sanctions as well as the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's a report.
Trade turnover between Russia and African countries had increased by almost 35% in the first half of 2023, despite international sanctions and the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed this new data as he met various African leaders.
Несмотря на сложности, связанные с пандемией коронавируса,
Despite the difficulties related to the coronavirus pandemic and the imposition of illegal sanctions against Russia, it was possible to ensure the growth in the pace of trade and economic ties with African countries. In 2022, the volume of mutual trade amounted to about $18 billion. In the first half of this year, the trade turnover increased by almost 35%. Russia continues to be a reliable supplier of food to Africa. In 2022, Russia exports to this group of goods amounted to $4.7 billion.
этой группы товаров составил $4,7 миллиарда.
African leaders who met Putin also took the opportunity to highlight on the repercussions of the war in Ukraine, reiterating on the need to having a concrete solution to end the conflict. We are not going to close our eyes to the issues between Russia and Ukraine because these are two countries with which we have partnerships and we can see the negative consequences around the world, especially in Africa. We shall be by your side to try to see how we can find a solution that can satisfy both your fraternal country but also the African continent, and why not the whole world? Putin has billed the two-day summit that opened Thursday in St. Petersburg as a major event that will help bolster ties with a continent of 1.3 billion people that is increasingly assertive on the global stage.
An apparent coup that has seen Niger President Mohamed Bazoum removed from power and detained by troops has sparked condemnation and appeals for calm from around the world, including from the US and France.
A military coup that has reverberated around the world. During a visit to New Zealand, the U.S. Secretary of State promised continued support for Niger's elected government.
I spoke with President Bazoum earlier this morning and made clear that the United States resolutely supports him as the democratically elected president of Niger. We call for his immediate release. We condemn any effort to seize power by force.
Blinken stopped short of calling what happened a coup d'etat, but the power grab by rebel soldiers is a blow to Western countries following regime changes in Burkina Faso and Mali. Niger, which is home to French and American military bases, is one of Washington and Paris's last allies in the region in the fight against Islamic jihadists.
France strongly condemns any attempt to seize power by force and joins the calls of the African Union and ECOWAS to restore the integrity of Niger's democratic institutions.
In addition to international organizations, the European Union and countries across Africa have condemned the mutiny against the president. Benin and Nigeria, which share borders with Niger, also called for calm, while Benin's president is expected to lead mediation efforts.
All means will be used if necessary to restore a constitutional order in Niger, but ideally everything should happen in peace and harmony.
Russia has called for the rapid release of President Bazoum, while UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has also expressed concerns that these actions could further destabilize the already precarious balance in the Sahel region.
Greek fire crews are scrambling to put out wildfires which have now been raging for 2 weeks before strong winds forecast for Thursday rekindled blazes.
Farmers race to save their livestock as the flames curl across parts of central Greece, leaving charred factories and farms in their wake. Locals have begun to point the finger at authorities for failing to look after the land, helping the fire to spread.
After the high temperatures that we've had and the high winds from noon onwards, this fire was created. I can't say how it started exactly, but we got to this situation with half of Magnesia burned because of the lack of public authority from regional governors, mayors, etc., from uncleared land, from uncut trees, from abandoned farmlands.
Officials said more than 600 wildfires have broken out around the country since July 13th. Temperatures are expected to drop after a prolonged heat wave, but near gale winds may complicate efforts to put out the fires, which continue to rage in central Greece and the islands of Corfu, Evia and Rhodes. Greek firefighters have been backed up by manpower and planes from the European Union and also local volunteers desperate to save their homeland. Locals here too are channeling their anger towards the authorities.
This is my tavern. It is completely burned. But it's not the weather's fault, it's human error by local authorities, the municipality and the governor. We had no water, no electricity for 5 days and no heavy machinery to open fire zones, something they promised months ago, but nothing.
The fire in Rhodes has already burned about 10% of the island. Scientists said this week the extreme temperatures that hit southern Europe this month would have been near impossible without human-caused climate change.
UN and EU monitors said Thursday that July is said to be the hottest month in recorded history and likely unprecedented for thousands of years, warning that this was a taste of the world's climate future.
As temperatures have soared across the world this summer, the United Nations has a stark warning. We're no longer waiting to feel the effects of climate change.
Climate change is here, it is terrifying, and it is just the beginning. The era of global warming has ended, the era of global boiling has arrived. The air is unbreathable, the heat is unbearable.
But Antonio Guterres did say there was still a window to prevent the worst from happening.
No more hesitancy, no more excuses, no more waiting for the others to move first. There is simply no more time for that. It is still possible to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius and avoid the very worst of climate change, but only with dramatic, immediate climate action.
The Northern Hemisphere, from Arizona to the Mediterranean and China, has been hit by record-breaking heat waves this summer, leaving residents sweltering in punishing temperatures and causing massive wildfires. The World Meteorological Organization says that those temperatures are unprecedented.
Our analysis does actually show already that July 2023, so this current month, where we're still in for another few days, is going to be the warmest month on record. Not only the warmest July, but the warmest month on the record. That's just due to the fact that July is on average the warmest month in the year.
Meteorologists also say that the 1.5 degree rise is likely to be temporarily breached in the coming years. Time could be running out to prevent that rise from becoming a permanent one.
A campaign against human trafficking, the United Nations says Nigeria is a major source, transit and destination country for human trafficking in Africa.
In 2017, Tracy Gabriel was desperate to help get her family out of poverty when a close friend introduced her to a so-called madam, an older woman who she says lured younger girls into sex trafficking. Gabriel says the woman promised her a job in France, but instead smuggled her to Libya for prostitution. She barely survived the journey.
If your water got finished, you will just die. And that is what really going to happen, because nobody will want to sacrifice his water to give to you. Until you sit with your neighbor, you find out that the next neighbor with you is dead.
To be freed, Gabriel was required to pay back the woman about $40,000. She worked as a prostitute in Libya for 6 months before she could escape.
They call it connection house in Libya, but it's a prostitution house where different men came to come and carry you. Doesn't have to. Then you'll be paying them. They will be forcing you, beating you. Do what you don't want to do.
The UN says Nigeria is a major source, transit and destination for women and children subjected to human trafficking in Africa. Nigeria's National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, or NAPTIP, says 61% of human trafficking cases occur in country, while 39% happen abroad.
In terms of trends and patterns, we see an increase of trafficking in persons for forced prostitution and other forms of sexual exploitation, and a lot of trafficking for labor exploitation.
In 2 decades, NAPTIP says it has rescued nearly 22,000 victims of human trafficking, but has convicted only about 600 offenders. Waziri Aziz says some witnesses believe traffickers are just trying to help the victims.
There are cases where communities, individuals don't want to cooperate with us because they feel the trafficker is trying to help, mainly because of the ignorance and because they don't know what it entails. So that has seriously stifled our investigative and prosecutorial rates.
The non-profit Develop Center for Africa Development is training teachers and caregivers to teach others in their communities how to use technology to identify human traffickers and report cases.
Right now, they're now using social media. So online human trafficking is an evolving form of trafficking that has been taking place over the last few years. We are deploying technology known as Stockholm app, which we are using to gather reports and respond to cases of trafficking.
While they find new ways to fight human trafficking, Oswigwe says those guilty of the crime are looking for creative ways to keep exploiting victims. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
U.S.-China dialogue unchanged after Chinese Foreign Minister shake up U.S. lawmakers' advance China competition legislation.
Drills on Bali Beach in Taipei City. The week beginning with Taiwan's annual exercise, preparing for a possible attack from China.
Today's anti-landing combat exercise is the largest exercise this year, testing the cooperation among different services, units, and forces.
Then on Tuesday, Chinese state television announced Foreign Minister Qin Gang would be replaced with his predecessor, Wang Yi, after just 7 months in that post. The United States saying Qin's removal will not change recent efforts by high-level officials to maintain the U.S.-China dialogue.
It is important for us to manage this relationship responsibly. That starts with diplomacy, that starts with engaging, and I will work with whoever the relevant Chinese counterpart is.
But in the U.S. Congress, concerns about U.S. economic competition with China remain high.
We are not controlling cutting-edge technology anymore. We're all but giving it away in many cases. We have a bucket with massive holes in the bottom, and we continue to pour billions and billions of R&D dollars into that bucket every year.
As part of its debate over the massive annual defense spending bill, the U.S. Senate advanced several key measures this week, requiring U.S. companies to report investment in Chinese technologies, such as semiconductors and artificial intelligence. A move condemned by China.
The nature of China-U.S. economic and trade cooperation is mutual benefit and win-win outcome. Intentionally restricting or interfering with normal economic, trade, and investment activities in the industry and in the private sector is contrary to the principles of market economy.
But a Pew Research survey released Thursday found unfavorable views of China worldwide, with 71% of adults surveyed saying China does not contribute to global peace and stability. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Washington.
The North Africa has embarked on a building spree of plants that purify sea and wastewater as climate change intensifies droughts in the water-scarce region.
The World Bank predicts that by 2030, the wider Middle East and North Africa region will fall below the absolute water scarcity threshold of 500 cubic meters per person per year. As a result, several companies have ventured into desalination process in both Morocco and Tunisia. The North Africa has embarked on a building spree of land that purifies sea and wastewater as climate change intensifies droughts in the water-scarce region. Last year, as a farmer, and because of lack of water, I was only able to use 20 cubic meters of water a day. When we had access to this treated water, I was able to use up to 150 cubic meters a day. This covers the watering of my almond trees and my crops. In Tunisia, struggling through its fourth year of drought, engineers recently inspected a desalination plant being built in the southern town of Zaraat on the Mediterranean coast. The existing desalination plants are powered by the very fossil fuels that belch carbon into the atmosphere, driving the global heating that is now intensifying droughts. The drawback is energy consumption, but this is improving. One of the disadvantages is that it uses a lot of energy. We hope that with technology, this will improve, and that with solar energy, we'll be able to mitigate the impact of energy consumption a bit. Today, Tunisia's 16 desalination plant provides 6% of its potable water. Some plants also help in recycling water through purification. The objective of the National Sanitation Office is to improve the quality of wastewater. Improving quality is part of a whole system, which is wastewater reclamation. The National Sanitation Office objective is to achieve 50% wastewater treatment by 2030, rising to over 80% by 2050. Tunisia already has 125 basic wastewater treatment plants that service farms and replenish groundwater, and Algeria is now looking to upgrade many of its treatment facilities.
South Africa and Argentina will both be looking to get off the mark at the Women's World Cup 2023 when they go toe-to-toe at the Dundee Stadium on Friday.
South Africa will be looking to get off the mark at the Women's World Cup when they go toe-to-toe with Argentina on Friday. South Africa were edged out in the last minute by Sweden in their first game, while Argentina were narrowly beaten by Italy.
It's a game we must win. In essence, it will be history when we win because it will be our first win. But more than that, it's our final. We can't look any further ahead than that game because everything else doesn't matter at this moment. That game is the most important game.
More or less, the players who played the most trained a little bit less than those who didn't play, so they will be fine for the match. As for the psychological preparations, we will go all inside and have the same idea. We'll identify what we want and what we're working for, even after a defeat. So we're going to continue with the idea and give our all for South Africa and try to win. Africa's 4 representatives at the World Cup began the tournament last week with something of a whimper, but Nigeria shone Thursday when they beat Australia 3-2, a win that could inspire the South Africans against Argentina.
35 minutes after 7, we'll go for a net break now. When we come back, Lungalele speaks to Velila, I believe. Yeah, don't go anywhere.
Eswatini Lifestyle is all about inspiration, drive, and swag. Eswatini Lifestyle is informative and fun while covering all aspects of life, be it people, places, and trends in the kingdom of Eswatini. We got you covered. The focus is on the quality of life. Eswatini Lifestyle will spark your interest. Catch Eswatini Lifestyle every Friday at 7:30 p.m. on Eswatini TV, Sibuko Semaswati.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards. This is Eswatini TV News.
Welcome back. Sakuvusela nalo Sanza Kuzivulela. We had mentioned earlier ukuthi sidaba sikhulumisana na director we competition Show Your Talent Eswatini Velile Dube takumele ukuthi they have officially launched this competition for bamfuna magesive samaswati lesinama talents kuma actors, modeling or singing and even dancing. Sesinaye lapha Velile usichazela kabanti ngawo lo mncintiswano. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Let's briefly talk about the competition. Why this competition? Show Your Talent Eswatini. Ingane Show Your Talent.
Okay, so Show Your Talent Eswatini is basically just one of the platforms that I used to go to with my ballet dancers. We used to go to South Africa. It was before this, it was called Talent Africa. So it used to happen for a whole week in South Africa. So then the current director, they changed directors. The current director, Jonita, said, listen, instead of, so we were basically looking to take our ballet dancers to this competition. But then as we were doing that, she then said, listen, why don't you give other like actors, models, or talents in Eswatini an opportunity to enter the competition, but you don't have to come to South Africa. You can just direct it from that side, put together like a panel of judges, really good judges, and put together a team and you're just going to join the South African team and we go to New York next year.
So you're only looking for acting skills, modeling skills, music and dance, no, not any other?
The competition is very broad. The South African one, which is our sister competition, is got like so many variety acts. There's a lot of things. But because it's the first of its kind in the country, and we would also like to just go to America and find, just get to understand the competition better, we narrowed it down to 4 categories, to just acting, music, modeling, and dancing. But I think next year when we do, because it's going to be annually, next year then we'll just open it up after we have a clear understanding of what's required.
Okay, so what happens now? You've officially launched the competition. I presume there'll be auditions and also there'll be a deadline. Take us through the competition phases.
Okay, so people enter, there is an entry fee, 200 per person per entry. So even if you're a group or a choir, per person has to pay 200 Rand. It's competition levy. And then on August 12th, so people need to register on Momo ticketing, 7808 4000. And you just follow prompts and it's going to take you right through to show your talent. And you get yourself a ticket. That's what you'll produce. We're not going to put a deadline. We're even going to give people the opportunity to register on the day, because I do know, being an artist myself, you rarely find out about these things, and then only to have a friend go somewhere, then you go, where are you going? I'm going to a competition. Oh, really? So if a person hasn't registered, then shame, they missed the opportunity. So we're going to give it to them. We're going to do Mbabane at the moment, and then judging from August 12th, then we might also look into going to Manzini for now. And then,
okay, so how many people are you looking for? Because we know that a lot of Eswatini are talented. So how many people are actually looking for?
The more the merrier. We don't want to put a limit, we don't want to put a limit of numbers.
Is there an age limit?
There's no age limit. There's no age limit. Talent America is one company or one family with America's Got Talent. So if you've seen it, if you've watched America's Got Talent, you've seen like it's just all age groups. Even if you're 60 and you've got a talent, but you've never had the opportunity to, New York has so many opportunities for. That's what Jonita was saying during our launch, because she was there just this month with a team that won everything. So she was just saying, there's opportunities for every age group.
So speaking of opportunities in America, what are actually the opportunities? Don't figure when they arrive in America.
So when they arrive, it's a whole week. There's Pageant America, which happens for models. One of the models from South Africa that left this year was chosen to walk next year in the New York Fashion Week, which will be happening in February. And then also she was signed by a very big modeling agency called Wilhelmina. So there's that. And they just basically, like any audition, or if you watch Idols, that's what people are going to look exactly like that, where you just come in and audition and come out in front of a panel of modeling agencies, acting agencies, all sorts of directors, producers. One of the guys from South Africa got an opportunity, or rather signed a contract to perform in Broadway and also a pub in America, so they pay for everything. While a pub in America and a pub in Swaziland or South Africa are two completely different things, you actually make a very substantial living from performing at a pub. So he's going back, he's signed up. So those are the things, those are the opportunities. Also, one of Jonita was telling us of her daughter who's been to America, and they signed seasonal contracts for her. She was too young to stay in South Africa. So even if you're young, you don't have to stay in America. You do it seasonally. They work according to your schedule. Okay. They pay for your trip with your parent. You come, and she says they would take pictures, put it on billboards, and then they'd, receive their payment in South Africa. So that's how some of these things work. They pay for your green card, lots of opportunities.
Okay.
Lots of opportunities.
All right. I know you said there's no limit in the number of people that would go to the audition, but how many people are you looking to take to America?
There's no limit.
There's no limit as well.
If you're talented, honestly,
Okay.
if you're
So you can
talented.
take 100 people,
We can take 100 people if,
Okay.
because what happens is after we've chosen the team, we hand it over to Janita. Janita takes care of the traveling and everything else. So, I mean, if it's 50 people, she'll have to handle that, you know.
So they sponsor the traveling as well, traveling
No,
costs?
they don't. Ah, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, they don't take care of the traveling costs. You have to take care of them. So it is. It has to do with affordability.
There's still time to plan.
There
because
is a whole
July,
year. So
12
but
months
we
to
are
plan.
planning. I mean, that's what myself and the judges, which include Boloja, Samu Makakula, we were just talking about the fact that if you're really talented and you can see maybe that you can't afford, we are going to really help in knocking doors and asking for sponsorships. Otherwise, it's a matter of affordability, and that's why we are even going to appeal to companies locally to please just give young talents and artists in Swaziland a chance. It's not even that expensive, I believe. You know, it's it's not going to be more than 60,000 per person. It's a whole week, and it covers everything, including tours.
Yeah. Speaking of sponsorship, I saw on the news that one of Princess Temaswati's foundation has donated actually 10,000 Malengeni towards the competition. Are you looking into getting more sponsorship? Are you getting any sponsors from companies?
Yes. So our stakeholders at the moment is the ENCAC and Gwagiti Foundation, which is Princess Temtimba, and she sponsored 10,000 towards the local competition, just to make it, successful. And then from there, and Wompact Foundation as well. Wompact Foundation has also just sponsored us with 5,000. That's going to go towards the winner. Well, we're just going to choose a really good local act that we think is amazing, just for the sake of it, and also just to inspire locals to enter the competition and not just enter it for anything. They've given 5,000 to the first prize winner. We're still looking for sponsorships, and Girl Boss as well has come on board to say they'll give hampers and stuff. So yeah, we're still knocking and appealing to companies to just come on board and assist our arts industry and motivate artists, because this is a space that we wish to keep active and preserve it for the next generations. Because I always say that I'm an artist, and I was in South Africa. I grew up in South Africa, and for the longest time, I would really find myself stumbling upon such opportunities. You'd have to hustle, but then you'd be hustling around and everything else, but never would you find a space which actually takes you internationally. So this is pretty big for our upcoming artists and even current artists.
Yeah. All right. So lastly, how do they enter the competition?
So 7808 4000. You send hi on WhatsApp, and then you follow prompts, and you buy a ticket, which is 200 Rand, and then you just come ready.
On
and
the 12th
also,
of
it's an
August.
American competition, so I just want to emphasize, because we've been getting a lot of questions about Maskandi.
Oh yes, the type of music. Yes.
Okay.
So you'd want your R&B, your hip hop.
Yes,
soul.
rapping,
Okay.
I'm not too sure. Maybe if a person can mix it, because it's music, and when I look at the categories, it really just says instrumental, and then it says singing. But it doesn't really say rapping. But if you're a rapper, you can just to showcase your vocal abilities. So you do need to sing. But it's an American competition. If you've watched America's Got Talent, there's no Maskandi or anything like that, so to just sing along those lines.
All right. Now, thank you so much, Velile. I hope we will see the number is 7808 4000, where you can send your applications for this competition. Eswatini, Show Your Talent is a competition which was officially launched on 12 August. Auditions in Babane Theatre Club. So yes, please do come through. To take a break, nas we asibuka temidlalo.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Tinso tethu tivikelwa ngekuthi kwekuqala kumgcoka ukuthi sitipopole sivakashele emtholampilo siyithanze emtholampilo upopola nje uye ungaguli ungumuntu kuyohlola ukuthi ingabe umtimba wakho usasebenza kahle yini lokunenani kabili ngeminyaka utipopola kuphindze futhi ushukumisa umtimba nako kumgcoka siphindze futhi sibuke tifo lesitibalile once watholakala ukuthi sonato letifo
Minutes after 7. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Fabrice is here. Let's talk sports now. Fabrice, a very good morning to you. How are you?
No, it's a beautiful morning. What can you say? It's a Friday. We're heading to a weekend and a lot of things are yet to happen in the sporting fraternity.
Local teams seem to be going all out in the Momo Cup voting exercise. Obviously, we see unassailable Peak Black Swallows up there, been leading since the beginning of the voting process. Let's talk about this historic run.
I mean, if it's anything to go by, I think my biggest surprise is as you can see on the table, I think it's Lozita Spurs. It's a team 1,000 votes.
Yeah, but like, how much time is there before?
Okay, until 18th of September, so it's roughly
it's enough time.
2 months, 2 months or a month with 3 weeks. So I remember last year we had Moreni Pirates, we had Rangers, we had Nsingizini being the top teams up there. But if you look at how now things are standing, I mean, it's quite impressive. Look at Peak Swallows taking the lead. And Solo Bafere is throwing just over 2 million votes. And I think this shows that, teams have got a way of also ensuring that they are pushing and to make sure that they make it into the top 6. Remember, you just play 2 games, Fiso, and you walk away with 600,000 if you are the champions.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I believe the total sponsorship amount is 2 million Malangani, am I correct?
Yeah.
And the previous winners was Nsingizini Hotspurs, who are currently sitting at number 6 with 779,925 votes, which is not a good position.
Compared to where they were last season.
Even just by the fact that you mentioned that they are taking their first 6 teams. So they need to be safe and probably want to climb up to the first 3 teams up there on that table.
What worries me more is that this is a daily update. So by the time another update is released in the latest hours of afternoon, then you might see some surprises, because yesterday on Thursday it was just only 2 teams. I think our leading story was Manzini Wanderers is the second team to make it over 1 million. But now, on Wednesday, but on Thursday before we went to bed, we've got now about 5 teams over 1 million. So things could change by the day, by the end of the day, where we could have Yon Things and we highlighted Moreni Pirates, Bakona, Ilova. So things could drastically change in the late hours of Friday to also to see great numbers in other teams.
Yeah, let's talk about the tournament itself. Let's say now we have the top 2 teams. When is the final supposed to be? I believe it's September. It's time to be corrected.
Yeah, it's in September. Okay, what would happen is that there'll be once they pick the top 6, there'll be what we call playoffs, semi-final playoffs amongst the teams that with the highest number of votes. So the playoffs, semi-finals will include, let's say we pick those 6 teams. So they'll play amongst themselves. Then the winners then will face each other during the finals on the 30th of September. And then, the champions just get a chance to walk away with 600,000. You just play 2 games, imagine.
Yeah, let's bring it back to developments that have happened, I think, on a very positive and light note. We saw the awards and we saw Princess Bahle, obviously, Akhutsata Macembu. That's a story that you covered yesterday. Akhutsata Macembu umaga emdlalweni wayo ibhola ukuthi aqhubeka asebenze ngekukhandla. Very good motivation, especially coming from a whole princess and her to grace the event itself. How big is this and how significant was that involvement?
It was quite impressive today. So now I would see she was just not only encouraging the Football Association, the Women Football Association, also clubs, try to ensure that you stick to development. And she's trying to say, you know what, look at the World Cup we're watching now. I think teams, yes, your Zambia, they were knocked out, but look at teams like Nigeria, and they're where they are today because of development. But I think one of the critical points we need to highlight is that Football Association have a role to play because there are funds that are coming from FIFA to support women. The question is that do we use all those funds to support women? That's the big amount of question. And then there's also the picture of also highlighting that the league still doesn't have a sponsor. And I think she was speaking on behalf of Iwandaville. Wandaville is also trying to support or sponsor your player of the tournament, player of the month, those prizes that are individual. But we talk about collection in terms of the actual sponsor of the league. They're still to get a league. So Football Association have got a way of putting those small amounts to ensure that teams are surviving. But we want the league to have a title name. The same way we have M10 Premier League. We should have Nyabegisa Eswatini TV Women's League. I'm using Eswatini TV because I'm protected if I use Eswatini TV. I don't want to mention another company's name. So that's what they want. But it all goes to development, like I highlighted. We need development. Schools, there are tournaments. Instacash did the same thing. Tournament amongst girls. Young Buffaloes, the eventual champions. Something needs to be done. I mean, you can't win the league without losing. For 3 seasons, they don't lose.
It's not Young Buffalo's fault, by the way. I think the way that you said it, someone at home might be saying that, oh, you're blaming Young Buffalo's ladies, the champions. No, we congratulate them. It's the other teams that need to improve. And only you can tell us where that improvement needs to come. But I did eavesdrop your conversation with Patiz, where you were not even talking to me. I was eavesdropping. On a positive note, you were uploading the fact that at least their awards look better in terms of the trophy presentation than the males awards. Looking at the top goal scorers award,
the boot,
it is
the golden boot.
And the cup itself, it looks really beautiful.
Quite impressive. That's what I was highlighting to say. There is some positives when you look at how they do things, and building to that, they can be a better association and improve on that. But in terms of what you're saying about Young Buffaloes, I mean that player Ngambole, known as Tete, last season she scored 79 goals. This season I think she scored 58 goals. Then it tells you that how do you become...
But she wasn't the player of the tournament, which is, it can be debated.
Top scorer, but when you talk about players of the month,
she didn't get a single.
Yeah, she's never got a player of the month.
That can be debated as well. Yeah. Fabrice, we'll develop this conversation further next week. Let's hope that as we're speaking about developing conversations, the conversation around women developments develops as well, and we see development within women football. We've come to the end of our program. Fabrice, let's say goodbye to our viewers. We'll see them next week. Have a beautiful weekend. Stay safe.